Here are a couple of experiences. See if you think these are familiar. These have been true for me for my entire journey as a guitar player. You get a new piece of information. It's a new lick, new scale, new chord progression. You learn a song, whatever. Get it on the neck, sort of like get it pretty close. You're pretty happy with it. I'm going to get back to that, right? 2 weeks later, it's like, it's gone. You can't see it. You're like, what was that thing? Right? That's experience number one. Experience number two, when you're doing something familiar, like you're playing blues in A, you've got your A minor pentatonic scale, you're playing all over the neck, or you're playing to the places that you can play, and you're looking at other spots on the neck, and there are spots that have sea monsters and dragons. You can't go there because you don't see the information that's available to you, right? You've never played it, you've never been there, right? These two experiences are a symptom of the same thing. And that's not having a reliable and stable method for fretboard mapping. Welcome back to the channel. My name's Chris. Today you will learn a method for fretboard mapping. Now you'd think that if you can just play something, you've mapped it on the fretboard, right? And ultimately, when you can play things and they are on the fretboard, that is some sort of mapping. But as you'll see, as I'm going to explain, there's different levels of effectiveness for that type of mapping. In other words, the result is the same, but how stable and reliable is that information? I'm going to explain what this methodology is. Why would we need a method? Why do we need a method? What is the method for mapping the fretboard? Then we're going to zoom in. I'm going to show you how to use it. We're going to put it directly on the fretboard. Tabs for this lesson are available on Patreon, just like every video on this channel. If you want the tabs, head on over there. Also know that Patreon is the entry point for my teaching platform called The Studio. That's where I'm interacting with guitar players all the time. I post a weekly assignment for everyone, and you can register for online classes that I'm teaching. These aren't downloadable courses. This is me teaching people live over Zoom. It's very, very cool. So if you like what I'm doing and you want some more, check out Patreon. Might be the great next step for you. Okay, so why do we need a method for fretboard mapping? Don't we just isn't it like I could just use a diagram and I got it? Here's the way this works. Let's say you have a piece of information. It's the minor pentatonic scale. And you learned it through a diagram, right? You got it off the internet, you downloaded it, it's a piece of paper with some dots on it. You might have an experience like this if that was your method, right? There are 5 positions. Let's say you got all 5 positions off of a scale diagram. This is the one you use the most. Very, very strong, right? You've got it right here. It's in a good spot. You use it all the time. So it's very effective. When you get to that next position, maybe you use the top of that one a bit, but you don't use it as much. Then you get to the next one, and there's a wrong note there. Now you're having to recall the dots, right? Do I actually have it, right? If you've used a holistic method, a method that includes all the information and the 3 elements that I'm going to show you, when you get to this position on the neck, you might have a different result. A more reliable mapping that allows you to retain the information more effectively and also recall the information more effectively. That's what a holistic mapping is all about. Okay, enough blathering. Let me tell you what these elements are, and then we're going to zoom right in. Number 1 is knowledge. Our number 1 element is knowledge. What do you know about this information? So I've got the pentatonic scale. I know the dots, right? If you have more information like, oh, it's a 5-note scale, pentatonic. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Investigate what's going on there. Why is it a 5-note scale, but there are 12 notes on the fretboard? That kind of information allows you more context to what you're doing. So number 1, knowledge. What do you know about the thing that you're applying to the neck? More knowledge equals more holistic understanding, more effective mapping. Number 2, anchor. You need a place where you can attach the information. Right here we've got this A note on the E string, 5th fret. right? That's our anchor. We're attaching information to that anchor point, right? Number 3 is scaffolding. What is scaffolding? Scaffolding is a framework by which you can complete a task. So think of house painters. A house painter comes to paint a house. They get going, they paint the house, right? They're painting. They get up to where they can't reach anymore. How are they going to paint the top floor of the house? They have a scaffold that they apply to the side of the house. It has levels on it. It allows you access to the rest of the house, right? The most important thing about this scaffold is that it's movable. So when they go around to the other side of the house, they have a method. They move the scaffolding over. Now they can paint that entire side of the house. Knowledge, anchor, scaffolding. All right, let's zoom in and I'll show you how to use this. Okay, so let's just say we got this new piece of information. We got our A minor pentatonic scale, right? What do we know about it? Here's some information that we got already, right? This is how we got the information. Look, right here it says it's a minor pentatonic scale. That's interesting. It's in the key of A and it starts on the 5th fret. These are pieces of information. We've got knowledge about the scale, right? Minor, okay, let's just say we don't even know the difference between major and minor. Let's say we don't really care right now. It's called a minor scale, so we know that much. Pentatonic. Penta means 5. Tonic means notes. 5 notes. It's a 5-note minor scale. There's some interesting knowledge. I've just taken a minute to analyze this, right? I've already got my anchor point right here, 5th fret. That's nice. I've already got some information and my anchor point. I've got knowledge and an anchor point. This pentatonic, let's look at that. From the diagram, I have this. I'm just going to count the notes because I'm a curious guy. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. That's more than 5. I just know that, right? That's a piece of information that's easy for me to gather. Now I have a question. Why is it a 5-note scale, but there are 12 notes here? Let's just play 5 and see what happens. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Doesn't sound like the scale's finished. That's because there are 5 notes in the scale until you get to the starting point again. Let's just bear that out. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And there's the beginning again. But this diagram has another note up here. The reason that's there is just so that this can all be 2 notes per string, right? But the scale ends there, right? I just learned something. I've got some more knowledge. Pentatonic, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This note is an extra note because of positions. New knowledge, right? Got my anchor point. Here we are on the 5th fret. It's an A scale. It's an A minor pentatonic scale. Let's get some more knowledge about this. I've just figured out that it's only 5 notes. That was cool. It sort of exposed some interesting information to me. Look at the distance between these 2 notes. That interval is called a minor third. It's also 3 frets or a step and a half. You can look at it any way you want. A little tiny piece of information. More knowledge about the scale. What's this distance? Right, I've got the distance between the 1st and the 2nd note. What's this distance? How am I going to find out? I'm going to put that note above this note on the same string. There it is. So that distance between the 2nd and the 3rd note is a whole step. Obviously, the distance between these 2 notes is a whole step. And what about this one? Let's find out what the distance is. Ooh, we're already starting to map this in a different way. Interesting, right? More knowledge. I've got more knowledge about the scale now. It's only taken me a couple minutes. Now, what about scaffolding? The scaffolding we're going to use is octaves. Now, I did a video here on octaves a while ago. If you don't know how octaves map to the neck, that's our scaffolding. If you think of those painters, they don't just, scaffolding doesn't arrive. They have to either build it or go buy it, right? There it is. That's the scaffolding. Go get that. memorize it. Here's what it looks like. Here are all the A notes on the neck using octaves as a scaffold. There's an A. That's up an octave. Right? Here's my next octave. From this A, up an octave. There's an A right there. I can't go up an octave here. I'd run out of strings, so I have to go down. There's my next A. Up an octave from there is right here. Up an octave from there is way up here. Again, running out of neck. Got to go down. Here's my next A. Those are all the A's on the neck. Right? It's movable. It's a scaffolding. I can put it on any side of the house I want, meaning if I need all the F's, I've got all the F's. That one thing, that scaffold is movable. I can take it anywhere, right? And I can complete my task. Let me show you how to do that. Here we have the scale. My scaffolding is these octaves. Let me just put the scale here. B string. I know the B string is tuned down. That's more knowledge I have. So I've got to adjust the pattern. I'm a pretty smart guy. I know all this stuff, right? I can gather this information, this knowledge, and apply it while I'm mapping this stuff to the fretboard. My scaffolding says the next A is here. Let's just do it again. Here's my next A. The scaffolding says that's where I'm at. Use that B string, knowledge. And so on and so forth. Here's another one. And then you're here, and then you have it again. Right? Knowledge, anchor point, that A note, scaffolding. I've just applied it all over the place. But I left a dark spot back here. Check this out. What about these notes right here? I just passed these by. This is a dark spot right now, right? Let's go back to the knowledge we have about the scale and those intervals. We found out that this obviously is 3 frets, right? Step and a half, minor third, whatever you want to call it. The next note is here. The distance between that note and this note is a whole step. Oh, there it is. The distance between here and here in our original scale is a minor third. So now look what we've got. We've just filled in this dark spot. Right? Now we're at our beginning again. Now I'm noticing some dark spots here. So check this out. How do we fill in that little dark spot? We know the next note is a whole step away. We know the next note is also a whole step away. We know the next note is a minor third. And then we're back to the root again. Now, if I do the same thing from here, I can fill in this little black spot. Right, I'm just taking these notes from our pattern, right? Here it is. And I'm just shifting them down here. I've just covered all this neck, right, with my pattern, filled in all the dark spots. Just using the knowledge I have. I was anchored here, and I used my scaffolding to move myself around, and my knowledge to move the notes around and fill in those dark spots. Let's do one more example. I'm going to take a G chord. These first 3 notes. Let's see if we can move that sucker around. So here are these 3 notes. If I go up an octave, use my scaffolding, these two look the same, but now this one's on the B string. Got to move it up using my knowledge. I've run out of strings here, right? But here I am again on G. Got it there. Don't have enough strings there, right? The scaffolding says I go up here now. Scaffolding says I go up here. There are no strings left, so I got to go down. That's where I started. Right? So now I've mapped it all over the place. But there were some dark spots here. How do I fill those in? If I take this note, the third note, and I put it on this string, on the A string, I've got an arpeggio of the chord now. So now I have the chord like this and like this. So check this out. Now I got this. Right? Suddenly, I've got the chord and I'm filling in some spots. This is an arpeggio, right? But I'm filling in these spots sort of organically. I don't have to necessarily memorize a new pattern of notes, right? I'm using my knowledge and my anchor and my scaffolding to move stuff around. Now I'm going to do one more thing with this chord. Here it is. I'm going to take this second note, I'm going to put it on the E string. So now my chord looks like this. I can take that information all around the scaffolding. You see what's going on here, right? Suddenly I'm filling in all these gaps, and I can play the notes from a G chord anywhere on the neck, right? I've showed this to you with a scale, and I've showed it to you with a chord. The idea here now is to take any piece of information, use your knowledge, anchor it somewhere to the neck, and then use this scaffolding to complete the mapping for the entire neck. Okay, there it is. A few ideas, elements around what I would call a method, a holistic method to map information onto the neck, right? You saw how we used the pentatonic scale. We used the knowledge of what we knew about the scale. We used our anchor point, the starting place, where we're just going to sort of focus this information. And then the scaffolding allowed us to spread that information out over the neck, right? That method allows me to use that scale or that chord or that arpeggio anywhere I want in the neck, and that information is much more reliable. I can recall it more efficiently, and I can actually use it more effectively. Okay, I hope this has been helpful. Take any piece of information you already have, a scale, a lick, a chord, and use this method and see if you don't get really great results. Part of the beauty about this method is that as you use it, you gain fretboard knowledge. It's very, very organic. In other words, you get the benefit of the method in the information, the result you get, but the other hidden benefit is that the more you use this method, the more you just understand the fretboard and how it works. It's really, really powerful. I hope you found this interesting. I hope it's been helpful, and I'll see you next time.